Between what we've lived through and what our day jobs demand, we've spent some serious time researching neuroscience. The pattern we keep seeing is the way we think shapes the way we behave. And over time, those behaviors shape our outcomes, often before we even realize we've made a choice.
So in that research of neuroscience, it opened the door to neuroplasticity, habit loops, stress responses, microdecisions, all the brainy stuff that explains why just try harder is a trash strategy. In this lab, we're rewiring habits one experiment at a time.
Welcome to I2 Lab. Okay, I've wanted to talk about this one for a bit because it's been out since January 7th, I believe, of 2026. So the 2025 to 2030 U.S. dietary guidelines frame a real food first pattern in the new food pyramid, right? And visually, it recenters eating around protein, dairy, healthy fats, produce, and whole grains while pushing hard against highly processed foods, which is the core of what I believe in how we should be eating anyways. The evidence to support this without any of us going into the science, which we will, is so, just if I'm an N of one and I just look at how I feel when I eat, it makes sense. It makes sense. So let's get into what has changed and how for years it was a certain way. And I think we could talk about too, like how many of us actually really gave a rip about the pyramid before? Like, okay, that was the food pyramid that was suggested, and these are the guidelines we should follow. You and I weren't someone that was probably going off of that. I mean, no. I was eating processed food for other reasons.
Yeah.
But it also was like, you're supposed to have this many things of grains and this many, like,
we all knew you couldn't eat, what was it, like 10 to 12 servings of grains?
And vegetables. The vegetables has come down too.
It was impossible. Yeah.
So, okay. So, but what this does impact, which is interesting, is schools and anything that is federally run. So you have military. All of that is being flipped too, which they should be eating this way to be their optimal selves, which is fantastic. Okay, so we can get into some of the points that have changed. So what changed? The priority order shifted. So I'll put a picture of the new food pyramid, which I am sure anybody
it's like a tornado funnel now.
Yeah, it's a tornado funnel.
I love that.
It's not exactly a pyramid, but
upside down pyramid, I guess.
It's so the guidance now emphasizes protein at every meal, which is awesome. Dairy, including full fat, no added sugar, healthy fats, vegetables and fruits throughout the day, whole grains, fiber rich. There's actually this, and maybe we do a different podcast on this. Have you heard about this new craze about fiber loading, fiber maxing?
No, I have not.
Well, I'll have to look into it. I don't know much about it, but I'm starting to hear those words in some of the stuff I'm reading and listening to, and it's super interesting.
Okay.
There's good things about fiber, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And we don't get enough, especially as women in the U.S. typically. Okay. So whole grains, fiber rich, while explicitly telling people to reduce highly processed refined foods, which of course
sounds great.
It all makes perfect sense. It's all logical. So behaviorally, this is less build a balanced plate by fractions and more build meals around nutrient dense anchors than layer produce and grains is really what it's, if I had to boil that all down.
Which is how I've always built my menu for the week anyways. Like, what is my meat?
Yeah.
And then what are my vegetables or sides around it?
We've typically been protein forward. I don't know that I've been as protein forward as I have been in the last 18 months.
Right.
Like we'll get into some of the studies on how much protein we should be getting, which is interesting how some of the studies were done. So we can dive into that a little bit. Okay. So it's more pattern based than calorie math based. There's still tension points. Like there's the same document, the new document that's out on the food pyramid. It actually promotes full fat dairy and lists options like butter, beef tallow, while also keeping the long-standing recommendation that saturated fats stay under 10% of calories, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that means execution quality matters a lot. Food choice plus portion plus context of what you're actually putting on your plate. The suggested amounts now are interesting. So in the document, in the new food pyramid document, when you read it, for a 2,000 calorie pattern, the guideline text specifies that protein for an individual should be 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight. So for those listening, kilograms of body weight, not your body weight. So you would take your weight and divide it by 2.2 is how you would get your kilograms. So if you could just half it, and you're close-ish. So if you're 180 pounds, 90, a little more than 90 is what it ends up being. But so you would be 90 kilograms. So you would take 90 times 1.2 to 1.6 to find out how many grams of protein you should be getting a day. Now, technically, we're going to get into that. Dairy in the document is 3 servings a day. Some people don't do well with dairy, so you just kind of have to take that for what it is. Vegetables, 3 servings. I don't remember what it was before, but it was much more than 3 servings. I think it was like 8 to 10 or something crazy.
6, 7, something like that, yeah.
Oh, God, you said 6, 7.
I don't know.
6, 7.
Oh.
That's like a thing with the kids
It is
these
a
days.
thing. I don't know what that means, though. But our hairdresser said that yesterday.
Nobody knows what it means.
I was like, I don't know what it means.
I just got back from a cruise with some friends, and they've got kiddos, and they're like, all they say is 6, 7 all the time.
I'm gonna Google it. And see what it means.
There's a big thing behind it. There's a bunch of different things of what it means. Some are thinking it means something not good. So I don't say it, but I thought it was funny that you said 6, 7.
Oh.
So yeah, 6 to 7, I believe, is what the vegetables were before. 3 servings a day now, which is much more manageable. Fruits are 2 servings a day. Whole grains, 2 to 4 servings a day now. And saturated fat, it does say keep to less than 10% of daily calories, which is actually pretty low for that. So I think that is the one thing that's a little bit, it's a tension point, I think, which is what I'd mentioned before. And it explicitly says these should be adjusted based on your caloric requirements / life stage / health context. Obviously, if you cannot process dairy, you're not going to have 3 servings of dairy a day. That's the kind of thing. Practical conversion, we talked about this. So this isn't just, you have to convert your weight into the kilograms to understand the protein part. So let's get into the proteins, since that's like the tippy top of the pyramid now. This is the biggest thing that it says you should build your plate around, which I do wholeheartedly agree, and the science does support it. So you would take your weight, divide it by 2.2, and you would get your weight in kilograms. So if you were 180 pounds divided by 2.2, it actually ends up being 81.8 kilograms. So your protein target, you would take 81.8 times 1.2 to 1.6, which would be 98 to 131 grams a day. That's a pretty big ratio difference.
Mm-hmm.
So that's rounded out. It gives you some usable daily protein ranges, though. So while you then can hit your produce, dairies, and fats and whole grains around that. So the study, I want to get into the study. There was a study done that had output that 0.8 grams per kilogram per day on protein was what they landed on. Now, it's not what they've put out in the food pyramid, but I want to start there because this was the original study that is talked about a lot. This figure came from a chain of expert reports that relied mostly on nitrogen balance studies. So that's how they study how much protein your body actually is using, is your nitrogen balance in your body in healthy adults. So many early studies, this is where the science is not really science. It was done on men, young, healthy men in their 20s. I know.
Stupid.
I know. Young, healthy, athletic men in their 20s. Then they added in a safety margin to cover nearly everyone. So they studied 20-year-old young healthy men that have high levels of that have 10 times more testosterone than I have to determine the amount of protein they need. The thing to keep in mind here is that people who are metabolically healthy and have a lot of muscle do not need as much protein to sustain that muscle and to turn that stuff into nitrogen, which is what they were measuring. So guys in their 20s who are athletic and healthy would need less protein than a 40-something woman who doesn't have as much muscle on their body. They would need less because their bodies are working more efficiently. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Okay. So that study was total crap. But that was the core one that everybody was basing a lot of their stuff on. So that's where you hear a lot of the 1 gram for like per kilogram of body weight.
Okay.
That's where they took the 0.8 and then they just kind of rounded up because they were like, this is about right.
Okay.
So that was early in the FAO, WHO, UNU work. So the WHO, the WHO, the World Health Organization.
We know all about them.
Yeah, that's that conglomerate.
Yeah.
They set that average adult requirement to that. Some studies say they set it to 0.6 grams per kilogram per day, but really it was around 1 is what it ended up being.
Sounds like they can't land on a number.
I think they were like, yeah, this is the study, but they were 20-year-old dudes that had a lot of muscle and it's not true. It's pretty much debunked in my opinion. So that one's kind of trash. We know who was in the studies were mostly males in their 20s. So the sampling population really isn't viable. So, but how protein was measured, this wasn't wrong. They measured it in nitrogen. So this is the classical nitrogen balance method. So there's a bunch of equations that I could actually put in the show notes that won't make any sense to anybody. They don't make any sense to me. Maybe there's some really nerdy sciencey people on this podcast that will. But
there's some nutritionists out there. I don't know. Maybe this is a nutritionist
They
thing.
probably completely understand this, but there's a nitrogen balance equals NIN minus NOUT text and nitrogen balance. And there's a lot of equations. Most urinary area nitrogen plus fecal nitrogen plus estimated integument, sweat, other miscellaneous losses of it. That's how they're measuring it. So your neutral nitrogen balance is how they're measuring how much protein you really need in this process. So they're measuring nitrogen.
So I have a dumb question and we can cut this if this is gross.
How are they measuring your poop? Your nitrogen in your poop?
Well, is it like a pee test?
I think it's
that
a
how
bunch.
you can? Okay. That's what I'm getting from like a urinary test maybe or a fecal
plus
test.
Sweat.
Well, I mean, I guess, but yeah, is that how they measure your specific nitrogen in your body?
I really can't speak to exactly how they extracted all of these.
Well, maybe it's a question that you can ask. I'll ask when I go to my annual health screening. Can you measure my nitrogen level?
That would be cool for her to.
Yeah, I'm not going to go for a while, but I'll ask. I'll update you guys in a couple months if you're willing to wait.
It actually became a little controversial. So later researchers argued nitrogen balance can underestimate true needs. So adaptation periods like intake/output measurement error, slope issues. So nobody's saying this is like the best way to measure this. This is how they did it. But this is a lot of how people are measuring it today and how it's getting on food labels. So that's why I wanted to go this route. And alternate methods like indicator amino acid oxidation, which is IAAO, it often produce higher estimated requirements in some groups. That's why you now see debates like for a minimum adequacy, you need the 0.8 grams per kilogram per day versus optimal intakes for older adults, active people, or during energy restriction is often even higher than that. This is where I want to get into where I think we have to be careful. And since this is like the biggest part, watch hit the
She
microphone.
talks with her hands
I
a
do.
lot.
We need
So
to start.
do I. Now she talks with her knees.
We need to start recording us because I do talk with my hands a lot.
I do too. It's okay. It must be genetic.
This is the biggest thing I want to get through in this podcast is just for this group to be wary of and cautious of is now that this food pyramid is out, everybody, and I know everybody's already started to see it even before the food pyramid switch, because I think food companies were already starting to see the writing on the wall. So they were already taking action. We're seeing protein in everything. So if you're supposed to get this much protein, you got to have it in everything. And we're going to go into why we need to be careful of that, because the protein that is in the Quest chips, there's Quest chips out there. I don't know if you've seen them, and they taste delicious. I've totally had them. I'm like, well, if I'm going to have a bag of chips that look like Doritos, I want 9 grams of protein. And okay, maybe the lesser of the two evils is to have the one that has protein, but we're going to talk about the protein that is put into that stuff, and how they could claim that much protein is in there. We're going to get a little sciencey on this, so stick with us on this one. If this one isn't your bailiwick, then just turn it off, because we are going to go down. I want you guys to understand, though, what you're seeing and what we're going to be up against from a propaganda standpoint, commercial standpoint, marketing standpoint. There's nothing wrong with what they're doing, essentially. It's just a little...
It's commercial, though.
It's commercial, and it's not like for like in what you're able to get into your body. Your best bet, hands down, and I'll put this in the summary notes, is to eat single ingredient sources where protein comes from.
Whole foods.
Beef, chicken, fish, shrimp, beans, lentils, not nuts. There's hardly any.
It's more fat, right?
It is. You're not getting, you would have to eat so much pistachios or cashews or almonds to get the amount of protein that's worth anything. So a lot of people,
which is not a problem.
No, I could take down.
I mean, it is a problem.
A bucket. I could take out a bucket of cashews.
But, yeah,
that's not an issue. But at the end of the day,
yeah,
the calorie ratio to the protein you're getting and the fat ratio
not worth it.
It's the macro you're really getting from the nuts is the fat. Right. If you were going to put a label on it, it is not protein. But a lot of people are like, well, I'm having peanut butter.
Yeah, our mom does it. I had a handful of nuts.
Oh God.
Like, okay.
Like, no. Okay, so I want to take an example of, it's a protein bar, and it's called a David bar. And I'm not saying this is bad at all.
I just saw an ad for those yesterday.
They're very good.
Yeah.
They're very
I've
good.
never had one.
The ratio of calories to protein is very good on them. They're like 150 calories, and you get like 20 grams of protein. That's pretty good. That's pretty darn good. But, and I'm not saying anything is wrong with these bars, but I want you guys to be aware. If a bar's protein source is mostly collagen, two things can both be true at once. And this is where we can dip into our lead. We're going to hold two opposing thoughts at the same time. And if you look at the David bar, the ingredients that is listed out on food goes from what appears most in the food to the least in the food. You guys probably know that, but I wanted to state that. So the first protein source is collagen on that particular bar. So two things can both be true at once. One, it can legally list a high number of grams of protein. And two, that protein may be lower quality for muscle building because collagen is low in some indispensable amino acids, especially tryptophan. Collagen does not contain all of the amino acids that your body needs to actually use that protein into muscle building protein. Okay. So what 28 grams of protein on a label actually means. We're going to get nerdy. On U.S. nitrogen facts, protein grams are typically calculated from the nitrogen content. So that's why I went the route of this is how it was measured. This is the nitrogen. So they're still using that for the labeling of it in the U.S. So it's calculated from nitrogen content. There's a Kildale style conversion. It's nitrogen times 6.25. If anybody's really interested in it, you could look it up. So yes, collagen nitrogen counts towards total protein grams. So your instinct is correct. A collagen heavy bar can post a big protein number, partially because collagen contains nitrogen, even if amino acid quality is limited for certain outcomes. Absorption versus usefulness on this one. Absorption / digestibility. Collagen peptides are generally digested and absorbed reasonably well. Biological quality for muscle protein synthesis. It's weaker than complete proteins like whey, milk proteins, egg, soy isolates, because collagen lacks and has very low levels of key essential amino acids. And you guys know that there are 9 essential amino acids that we need to intake that our body does not naturally produce to be able to build those muscles with the protein. That's why protein quality systems, the PDCAAS and the DIAAS, often score collagen lower for complete protein purposes. Think of it like this. Collagen gives you amino acid bricks, but fewer of the specific bricks needed to optimally trigger and build skeletal muscle mass, which is what you want. If you're going to eat the protein, those are the things you want. Can brands still claim high protein? Yes. Usually, yes. If they meet labeling rules for protein amount claims, but consumers should distinguish protein quantity, like grams on the label, versus protein quality. So quantity and quality is what you're looking at. Essential amino acid profile plus digestibility. So the FDA labeling guidance distinguishes protein declaration and quality considerations. You just have to make sure. I would be cautious if the first protein is collagen on these. Is the science I'm seeing today. Now, could I come back on in 6 months and a year and give you something different because we have new data? Potentially. But This is what we're seeing. If they're able to claim the amount of protein in it because of the nitrogen that you release in your body, that's not doing anything for you. So you're buying a food that you're like, well, I'm going to have this. What'd you say you saw? Some Pop-Tarts?
Yeah. I was at Costco. Love going to Costco every weekend. Even though there's just 2 of us, we still have to shop at Costco.
We do too.
Yeah, we were walking down the like the cereal bar aisle, didn't get anything. We just like to look. And so Adam's doing really well, by the way.
Good.
He, I think we just posted the Chuck Norris podcast.
We did.
To report out, he has lost 22 pounds.
That's amazing.
Already. Yeah, he's doing so good.
It's okay. So for the listeners, he started in January.
Yeah.
So it's 6 weeks.
6 weeks. He's lost 22 pounds.
How does he feel about that?
He takes pictures and he'll text me. He's so excited.
Good.
So I'm so excited for him.
It's important for him to see the momentum.
He doesn't typically do well on diets. He doesn't normally stick with it. So this is really, really good.
He does well up to a point. And then
not this long.
Okay.
He's normally doesn't do it this long. So this is good. That might sound sad to people because 6 weeks isn't that long, but this is really good for him. So we were going down we're almost to the point where we're just because we're really into it. And so we're going down the cereal bar aisle, just kind of like making fun of stuff.
So awesome. Yeah. We're both doing it together.
Yeah. We're at that point. We're just like, haha, look at that junk. Like nobody wants to eat that stuff at this point because we're so into it. And we saw 2, giant crates of Pop-Tarts, and they're both brown sugar cinnamon, which is our favorite flavor.
So good.
So delicious. And of course, it looks like crap to both of us at this point because we're just zeroed in. And one has, we noticed that it's got 7 grams of protein. Don't quote me on that number, but something like that.
It's boasting protein.
It is advertising protein right on the front of the box. And Adam's like, oh my God, look, this has protein in it. And he looks at the stack of Pop-Tarts right next to it, does not advertise protein on it. So he picks it up and looks at the nutrition facts, 0 protein. And he's just like, how in the heck how does this one have protein in it? So we start looking at the ingredients in it.
I'd be curious if it was collagen, if that was the protein.
I didn't care enough to pay attention.
This is the first you're hearing about this stuff, right?
Yeah. I didn't care enough to pay attention because I'm like, it's junk. I don't want it.
Yeah.
I knew it was probably like a pea protein or probably collagen or something like that. So I told him, I was like, it's probably a pea protein. And I was like, just put it down. But yeah, as we continue to walk down that aisle, almost every box of every kind of cereal bar you could think of, every kind of snack bar, cookie, biscuits, everything, protein, 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 protein.
It's already starting.
Already. And I can believe it, but I can't believe it because you said this came out January 7th.
Yeah.
It's been just over a month.
They knew this was coming though.
That quickly. That's crazy.
They got whole teams that are like
they probably worked day and night to flip all that packaging and have manufacturing reprint and repackage. It is crazy.
If all they have to do is change one thing that's added into the food, if they just enter in to the food a lower level, cheaper,
something
nitrogen producing
something
component that they can claim that there is protein in it, then they get your money for it.
It is sick though that I feel like, and hopefully I don't sound like a conspiracy theorist, maybe I am, but for so long, the food industry, the Food and Drug Administration is the same administration. And for so long, it's been hand in hand and it's just been controlled. And they've just been going along together. And we've been fed this information for so long, even though we knew it was wrong. And now it's been flipped. And now the food industry is just flipping their dialogue and just repackaging stuff. And it's good to get this information out.
It is. And the same thing happened before when all of the low fat stuff was the big craze, when the
80s and 90s.
The 80s and 90s. I mean, that's when we grew up. And that's I think what's still, an underlying thing for us is that, 0 fat. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is low fat. This is low fat. This da-da-da-da-da. So now it's just the same thing is happening. It's just been so long. I mean, how many things came out that it was, this is 0 fat. This is 0 fat. This is margarine. This is that. There's no.
And people are still stuck there. When you mentioned the dairy full fat on that list, of course, I love full fat dairy, real butter, whole milk.
Should we say our whole milk story from our Borders days? Borders was like a Barnes and Noble, and I don't know if other people. I'm sure they had it in other states. So we would love to work at the bookstore, and there was a coffee shop in the bookstore, and they had this eggnog latte during the holidays. But it was really good with whole milk, like the skim milk. You could tell, like it needed the viscosity of like a full fat milk.
Yeah,
we went up there and we were like, we want the eggnog latte with whole milk, and the girl behind the counter that was taking our order had never heard it called whole milk. Like she said the word whole, like she had never said the word in her life. Like it was Greek. She went, whole milk? And we were like, oh my God.
It was like the first time she sounded out the word. Like whole milk? Like, like
so
4%. Like just.
Yeah, we were like, I don't know, should we? And then I looked at Lindsay. I was like, am I not saying it right?
Yeah, I was like,
is it called something else? Do the kids call it something different?
Hold up all the milk cartons. I'll point the one out to you.
Yeah, it's the one that's not skim. It's not 2%. I'll tell you what it's not.
But I love seeing that or hearing you say that, because does that mean at schools
they weren't using
that they
whole
have
milk?
I know. I'm trying to think back when we went to school. I can't remember. They always have the little milk cartons that you get at lunch. And I don't remember what I got, probably 2% or something.
There was a blue one and a red one.
Yeah, it was probably like 1%, 2%. So they probably have to at least offer whole milk
now because of this.
But do they also offer 2%?
I don't know. We don't have kids, so
I know. I want to know.
Yeah, you guys need to comment below this.
Yeah, if anybody has kids, I want to know. Like, has it changed already? How quickly? What has to happen? I'm just interested to know how how that works.
I know. It's very, so moral of the story is, I think that the new food pyramid makes sense
Yeah.
for sure, especially in the way I have changed my eating habits and I'm able to sustain them. This feels like the most sustainable thing I've ever done. Eating whole real foods, big shocker. Like it's the most unsexy type of like plan you could talk about because people are like, what do you do? How is the secret? I'm like, I eat whole real foods. I drink water and I get sleep. I'm sorry that
I eat like our
and
ancestors did.
I don't snack in between
Yeah.
meals and I try to get I try to move as much as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what is it?
Yeah. It's like, no,
Like, that's
listen
it.
to me. Yeah.
So I think everybody just needs to be careful because it's a rabbit hole that you could easily, because our brains love to negotiate what, like how can I make this now fit into my new lifestyle? So, maybe I can have the Quest chips and then sourdough bread and then make sure that I'm getting like I can have like a deli sandwich with some chips. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but I'm saying that there's probably a different choice that will support your body in a better way because you're not actually getting the protein that it's saying is in there. You're not able to process it because it's not even that good of a protein. You're not getting the actual full amino acids that you would be able to even turn it into the muscle building protein.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If someone uses a collagen heavy bar, that's just one example, but it's great convenience. Satiety. I'm not saying not to get the David, but there is another thing with the David bars too, where they have a patent on this specific fat that they've been able to put into the David bar. I know this sounds a little, Lindsay's face just scrunched up.
I don't like made
Up
manufactured things.
Yeah.
I don't know. It freaks me
It's
out.
too squeamy.
Yeah.
They patent this fat. They've actually removed it from, nobody else can use it. So if it is fine, that's great, but they've also monopolized it. So I'm not sure I love them for that component of it, but it's a fat that it has the mouthfeel that you're looking for something to be fatty and, to have all of those components that are like, oh, this is good. But your body doesn't absorb it. So they're able to claim a lower fat on the labeling as well because it's in there, but your body doesn't absorb it. So they don't claim it.
Does your body treat it like Olean?
I don't know. Does anybody,
if you know what I mean.
I remember Olean.
Yeah.
God.
If you remember what
Make
your body...
sure you're by a bathroom.
Yeah. If you get my drift.
There was actually, I remember eating those chips at one point too.
Like the Doritos with
Yeah,
Olean
your
in
poop was like oily.
And orange.
It was, and there was a caution on the back of it that actually...
Explosive.
I think the word explosive might have been... They weren't around that terribly long. Or maybe I stopped eating because I had orange, oily poop.
I was a preteen at the time.
I was barely 20. So
you were probably a teenager still.
I was 17, 18.
Yeah. I was young enough where I was like, this is gross. I'm not eating these.
Well, and I wasn't old enough to like
stopped.
go and buy my own stuff
Yeah.
all the time.
We had them because Mom bought them. But
so
have you seen any? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I saw a couple social media posts where people were freaking out about this food pyramid.
Oh no!
And they were saying that they're gonna murder people.
Oh.
Have you seen anything like that?
I've been waiting to see this because I've been wondering if people were gonna just disagree with this for the sake of disagreeing with it.
Yeah, well, they are
because of the people that have
because of the administration that did it. But that's gonna happen. But they were like, people they're gonna murder people because you can't eat this much meat and protein and people are gonna die, and like they were freaking out about it. Of course, I only watched 2 seconds of it because I don't want that in my life, but I thought it was kind of funny.
And then if you watch that stuff, your algorithm thinks you want to have more of it. So I was like, I try to get off of those really quickly.
But I didn't know if you had seen anything like that.
I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't, probably because of everybody I follow in my feed.
Yeah.
They're like, she's not going to see this.
Yeah, it popped up and I was like, oh God, no.
It's really not that much though. If you go by the 1.8, if I weighed 180 pounds and you go by the kilogram thing, like I'm eating for the record, for people listening, I'm eating way more protein than that. And it's actually pretty doable. So if you weighed 180 pounds and you stayed on the low end at 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, that's only 98 grams of protein. Now, I know that's more than a lot of people probably eat, but if you had 3 meals a day and 30 grams of protein each, I mean, that's pretty.
We have some friends that are vegetarians. I'm thinking of,
Yeah.
I won't say her name out
Yeah.
of respect, but the individual we've worked with.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see her maybe struggling to get it in, but she does a lot of lentils and
She
beans
could
and
do it
stuff.
still.
Yeah, she could still get it in.
There's actually protein in broccoli too.
Yeah.
It's not just meat. You're not
Yeah.
getting a ton of it, but
Yeah.
if you consider every source of food you have as adding to your protein allotment for the day, it's not nearly as impossible.
Okay.
I actually do a gram per body weight. So I actually get more than that because I want to build muscle. And then as you get older, we become, I don't think this is the right word, but it's almost like protein resistant. Your body doesn't break down the protein in the most effective way as it used to. So you need more because your body, that's why the study with the young men, they were healthy and young. And of course, 0.8 was good for them. But those same men would probably need double that as they get into their 50s and 60s and beyond because their body is not as efficient at breaking it down and using it. So I get somewhere between like 150 to 200 grams of protein a day. I never get below 150. It's if it is, it's like one time a year. It's super rare.
That's awesome.
Super rare. The more protein, the older you are, the more protein you need. I would do, and then some people do a gram of protein per lean body weight. So not just your body weight. So like my lean mass, the last time I checked, because I have a Hume scale, you get on the scale and it tells you like how much water you have in your body and how much lean mass and your bones and stuff. Your bones. My lean mass, I think, is 112 or 14. So if that was the theory, then I would have 114 grams a day. So we didn't go into this and I didn't pull it all up, but there's a big, big thing about, too much protein. There are people that could have kidney problems because of too much protein. And that's actually very rare. There is a condition where there is about 1 in every 10,000 people that are born without the ability to break down a certain amino acid that is in protein. It's just one. And then what happens is they can't break it down. There's a test they can do at birth. And if you are one of those, you just have to take something that metabolizes that protein in your body. But if you don't, there could be a buildup of that one amino acid in your body because your body isn't breaking it down. And it could cause some issues because you're going to have an influx of that and it's not going where it needs to go. It crosses the brain barrier, like causes brain fog. There's other things, but it's pretty rare. It's pretty rare. So I'm not saying eat all the protein you ever,
Right.
but I think you should listen to your body and figure out what works for you. And, don't kill yourself trying to get the protein in, but make sure it's in a whole, real food form. Don't fall for the propaganda. And because it could be a whole rabbit hole. Because I find I go down that road too. Like, man, this Cinnabon thing, there's actually, and I'll find myself on the protein aisle because I do have a couple protein bars that I like just as travel. It's still a candy bar at the end of the day. It's not the best protein source. I'm better off eating some grilled chicken or some beef or some fish to get my protein source. I'll actually feel better and my body will be more satiated if I do that. But if I'm in a pinch, I actually like, I think they're called Bear Bells, Barebells. They're actually not even that. There's Prima too. I really like Prima. That's probably the cleanest one.
I have
that's
a
out
box of Primas in my desk just for emergency. Like if I can't.
There's like
5
ingredients in the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's sweetened with honey, but the honey is like the 4th or 5th ingredient. It's not overly sweet.
And it doesn't taste like a candy bar.
No.
It's good. It tastes good.
You wouldn't eat 12 of them.
No. I eat one and I'm good.
It's a rabbit hole. And it's almost like a gateway drug to the rest of the stuff that's out there. It's okay, I'm going to get these things that are identifying as a Cinnabon, but it has protein in it. And then now I'm going to look at all the sugar-free stuff. And then now I'm going to look at the da-da-da. And then now I'm going to...
You get that taste for it. And then Yeah, your brain is like that reward system gets lit up and then you just want more and more and more.
And before you know it, you're not eating anything that has a single ingredient word to describe what it is.
Yeah, it's game on.
And that is the highly processed, highly palatable foods.
Yeah.
They're going to start to disguise protein in it so that they get your money. So we just have to be careful.
Yep.
I'm not saying never eat them. I'm just saying be aware. Because if you look up one day and all you have in your cabinet are chips and protein bars and you don't have chicken on your list of what you're eating, or fish, or just beef or pork,
it's a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope. Just the way any of us have engaged with food in the past, we have to be careful with this, I think.
I have an update on 6-7.
Oh.
I Googled it.
Okay, tell us.
It doesn't mean anything, apparently.
No. Everything I've seen, they're like, we don't think it means anything.
It just, it's basically all the youngins, all the kids say it as, if they say it to an older person, it's just like they're making fun of us because we're not in their group. Okay. We don't understand. They're making fun of us because we're old.
Okay.
So if they say it to you, feel free to slap them or push them over. Or say something rude back. I don't know. Yeah, whatever you want to do. I don't condone violence, but, if they're being little jerks, you can be a jerk back.
So crazy.
So, yeah, that's kind of rude.
That is rude.
I never had one say to me, so.
I actually haven't either. I've just heard it from friends
that
are parents that are like, that's all they say.
I heard it for the first time this week when we were getting our haircut together. So, that's my update. Sorry.
Anything else you'd say on the food pyramid?
No, I'm excited that they did it. Only for the sheer fact that we're no longer lying to everybody, and
just for the sake of,
and that they have to, schools and, like you said, then the military.
I'll be curious
to
hear the benefits from that, because I do think there will be some. I just think we have to know what our country and and marketers will play to in this country, because we're consumers. We consume the crap out of things.
It would be nice if somehow you had to, for marketing purposes, if you had to note what kind of protein it is. You know what I mean?
And at least they do say it on the back, but we have to educate ourselves on what that actually means in our bodies.
And maybe that's what it is. We just have to educate ourselves.
The best way is just to have single ingredient foods. When in doubt, or if you're starting to feel like this one thing is leading to something else, back it down to the basics and just have the single ingredient foods.
Until next time, stay curious.
Keep experimenting.